Welcome to Three Witches and a Druid podcast, a Canadian podcast about paganism in today's modern society. And now, Three Witches and a Druid podcast present The Bard Dom.
You are the rock, and you are the stone. Rivers your blood, mountains your bone. You are the source of all I'll ever know. Forever my mother, forever my home. Oh, this town is so cold. Neon magicians, they offer the fools their gold. For there is somewhere I'd rather be, in your wild places with the land and the sky and the sea. Step follows those gone before, mystics and saints, down to the shore, echoing waves and the curlews cry. I call out your name, I hear your reply. Oh, this town is so cold. Neon magicians, they offer the fools their gold. For there is somewhere I'd rather be, in your wild places with the land and the sky and the sea. Cynical thoughts and lies that distort all that is true. All that is true, they disappear when I feel that you're near, when I'm with you, when I'm with you. places with the land and the sky. In your wild places with the land and the sky. In your wild places with the land and the sky and the sea.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Three Witches and a Druid. My name is Margot.
And I'm Maeve.
Gwen.
And I'm Brian. So yeah, Earth is an element.
Well, we just, before we started recording, the lovely Gwen made us some amazing hodgepodge, which if you are not from the Maritimes, you are missing out because it is made with garden fresh earth root vegetables and vine vegetables, so carrots and potatoes and beans and peas, and then lots of cream and butter. And what could possibly be bad about that combination?
It was delicious.
So we're all very sated and happy and grounded and ready to talk about Earth.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in ADF Druidry, we don't work with the elements so much. We work with fire, the well, and the tree. And those are our connections. But in witchcraft, you use the four elements. Not the periodic table of elements, but the four elements.
Yes, yeah, we do. And for anyone who's not in the know, Earth element is associated with the direction of north. Its color is green, traditionally, and associated with winter. And it is the element with the most stability. It is your prosperity, your grounding, your fertility, that sort of
Your
idea.
physical health.
Your physical health, things, all grounding things.
So I think maybe even to back up, since this is the first one, it's the first one we're going to deal with of the four because we wanted hodgepodge. So that's why we're going to start with it. But that sort of division of elements goes all the way back to around the time of Socrates. Now, it wasn't Socrates, it was another Greek philosopher. And then, it kind of coasted along for quite a while until the alchemists like Paracelsus and all that took it away, and it became really a big part of Western esotericism, and then all the mystery cults and stuff of the turn of the last century. Hard to believe we're now saying turn of the century for now. But anyway, so we see that element reproduced in a lot of different systems, that elemental division, because it's a basic pillar. Pillar is probably a bad word. It is a basic part of Western esotericism. And if you use the tarot cards, the suits reflect different elements. So this would be pentacles if you're reading your tarot cards. And sometimes it makes things like tarot cards or another divinatory system or something easier to fathom. If you understand the elements, you can apply that to different practices within your spiritual practice.
Earth is also the ultimate symbol of feminism as well.
Yes.
Life, growth, the goddess Gaia.
Yeah, and it is the base for the other three elements on top of it. Because it is the solid one, it has very thick matter and form, and the other ones come out of that.
So some traditions, when they invite elements into their circles, they start with north, some start with east. But because north is grounding and and can be the base, sometimes different practices will start with the north.
And traditionally, traditionally in witchcraft, your altar faces north in a circle when you're doing that traditionally.
Yes, and I know when we're in circle and either designating or choosing who is going to call which element, I initially would always go for earth because, I am a Taurus. I like to think of myself as grounded. I don't know. But then I found it was almost getting me too set in my ways.
Right.
Like I can be too grounded sometimes and focus too much on the attachments that are associated with earth. And so sometimes I've realized since then that I need to participate in the other directions, the other elements more to try and bring a better balance into my life.
Right.
Because I do tend to be very fixated on the security, the financial stability, the roof over my head,
The good food.
the good food, all of those things. And maybe it's that now I'm have accomplished somewhat more stability in those areas. Now I can relax my psyche a little bit and allow me to embrace or explore some of the other elements as well.
I think with you bringing up astrological charts, that's one way if you're not using a magical practice, but you are curious about your astrological or you have a chart done, you can look and see where your planets are, where your sun sign and that sort of thing is. I have a fire sun sign, but I am very, very heavy everywhere else in earth signs. So even though there may be that sort of sun sign persona that people see, I'm way more stuck in the mud than and Mavis laughing at me.
No,
I'm much more of a stuck in the mud than people would maybe realize, and that's because of I'm heavy with earth. And I remember many years ago somebody saying, you have lots of great ideas and you undercut them because you're always the one that brings up all, like, you have all these great ideas and then this rational side kicks in because you have this in earth, and you kind of sabotage yourself. You should, before you start any endeavor, especially something philosophical, something with ideas, something that you want to act on, light a candle.
That was, when you said that was fantastic advice. Because for all I'm an Aries rising, which is a fire sign, and I seem fiery, that's the only fire in my chart. I'm very air heavy.
Yeah.
Then is Earth. I'm very air heavy. So I get all the magnificent ideas.
Right.
Wouldn't that technically be airy light?
Air light.
Air light, very, very air heavy.
But the idea too, when you were saying stuck in the mud, when I got my wrist tattoo with a lotus in it, and he asked me why, I said because the only way a lotus can grow is if there's a lot of muck in the bottom of the water or the pond or whatever. So it's like the only way to get something so beautiful, it has to be rooted in shit. And so I'm pretty rooted in shit. So I'm working on becoming the lotus, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, and the lotus is incredible because it's rooted in shit. You're pushing up through the water and all the subconscious, all the shadow, all the whatever to the light. Yeah, beautiful. I think if you're working and you want to maybe use earth in some of your workings, you can do that with tools. You could do that with symbolic representations, or even something that you get from outside. What have you used in the past?
For earth, well, I mean, you can always just put a plant on the altar if you want. But sometimes if you're feeling you need that earth energy, my go-to is usually crystals. Different crystals associated with earth will certainly help. I find that, in summer I garden. So that gets me into the earth. And truthfully, snow is associated with north. The greatest cold, the ice. Now, ice is not associated with water. Ice is associated with earth. People think it's ice, but it's not, because it's heavy and it's north and it's all of that. So in winter you have the snow. It's got to be good for something.
Well, it is preparing the earth for the coming spring.
Well, it's true.
It needs that downtime. It needs that period of recovery and rejuvenation.
And truthfully, if we do not have enough snow, farmers actually have a bad time.
Yeah.
The nutrients are, the nutrient isn't there. The water's not there. The
water
ground,
table's too low.
The water table's too low. So like it or lump it, the snow is very vital to us up here in Canada. It is an important thing for us.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
Very much so. Do either of you use subcategories? Like, I know in tarot, for instance, a page would be earth of earth, because all the pages are considered earth. So she's Earth of Earth, Page of Pentacles. And then the Knight would be Air of Earth. So I'm wondering if the Queen is sometimes considered Water of Earth because Queens are water. You never break them
I've
down. You never subdivide
never
them. Deal with that.
heard of that.
Oh my goodness!
So there you go. I'm learning something new today. Excellent.
I find water and air much easier to work with in those subcategories where there may be not one or the other, but Earth, again, it's stability, right? So maybe you like it to be that one solid thing.
I've never given it any thought. Well, that might be something to think about. Or, oh my goodness, we might have to invite ourselves over to Gwen one night, bring food, and have her go over that with us.
Yeah.
I smell a Skillshare.
There we go.
Skillshare afternoon.
There we go. So I was also thinking, what do you do with Earth magically, spiritually? I think that's the grounding processes, right? That's where, more than anything else, when we open up a circle, when we do something privately, very often, if not always, start with a grounding or end with a grounding.
Yes, you both times, because you certainly don't want to leave yourself. I mean, in ritual, you're connecting with, the higher and or lower realms, and you certainly want to bring yourself back to the now. I find keeping yourself in the now, because if you're not grounded properly beforehand, you could be completely overwhelmed.
Yes.
And if you're not grounded properly afterwards, you'll be high as a kite, and then all of a sudden you'll crash back down and feel like you've been hit by a truck. So the grounding before and after is very important.
So what do you think? What are your favorite grounding methods?
I like to, truthfully, the fastest grounding method is a pretzel because it's got salt. But, just imagining your feet into the earth, as roots, that kind of idea, or even getting down on your knees with your hands down, just to put in the beginning of the circle, you would ground yourself down so you don't, get too flighty. But at the end, you would put your extra energy back into the earth to, help the earth and give it some extra energy, especially in winter.
Yes.
That kind of idea. I'm pretty basic that way. I'm pretty basic. When you were talking about, always going for earth, where I would always go for air. So the earth thing. And really, if I find that I don't feel grounded even after that, run your hands under some cold water, put it on your face, eat food again. The food, the emergency grounding is pretzels, but have something to eat. Have something to eat. We'll make it.
Yeah.
Because we always eat afterwards anyway. So actually the eating part is my favorite grounding. Eating is my favorite grounding.
Because where two or more pagans gather, there shall be food.
That's right. And when two or more druids are gathered, there shall be mead.
That is true.
Right. So do you have any in the druid tradition there?
Well, like I said,
do you do grounding or specifically?
Oh yeah,
or is
definitely.
It just assumed?
No, we do grounding and stuff. But like I said, in ADF Druidry, we do have earth, of course. Like every ritual, if possible, you kiss the earth for the mother goddess, and you raise your hands for Father Sky, and that's how we do. Not all ADF Druids, but that's what we do. But yeah, so we have earth, of course, but it's not viewed the same way as it is in witchcraft.
Yeah, I think if you're curious, the free way is to get onto Google and say what are earth correspondences, and you can learn which plants or which crystals or stones are more. I mean, let's say a stone is earth no matter what, but maybe pumice is air of earth.
Yes.
Something like that. That's
or
where
lava, anything that had once
would
been
be
lava, fire of earth.
Fire of earth.
So interesting.
Yeah, there'd be combinations like
there
that.
would be combinations in that way. So I think, Google can be a great resource. Google more than one place because you have to make it work for you. So if a correspondence comes back and you're like, that makes zero sense to me, don't use it. Don't use it.
Yeah, don't stress over it.
No fairies. There are different members of the Fae associated with each.
Yes.
With
Very much
each
so,
quarter, with each element, and no fairies.
Yeah, but I think I get what you're trying to get at is that what we're saying isn't set in stone.
No.
Yes.
But you're gonna find different information.
That was that's a classic dad pun. Yes.
Well, I was gonna say, you said earlier, like pillars of earth. It's not appropriate. It's like, no, it's perfectly appropriate.
It can have a
But like nothing anyone tells you is going, like, you're gonna embrace whatever you feel, unless Scott Cunningham says it. But everything else, it's just whatever you feel. Like we just came up with two great examples of, like, a lava stone may represent both elements, but other people may disagree. When a pumice stone may represent earth and wind, people may disagree, and that's okay. They're okay to disagree, but this is how we feel.
Well, there's some things that, just resonate with certain people and some things that don't.
Yeah.
And even if we go back, you were saying traditionally, and you're right, 100% traditionally colors are like green or brown for earth. But then you'll have other groups, the Crowley tradition and his tarot and everything, they use different colors.
And
Isn't the native ones, don't they use black? Isn't black?
And native colors are very different as well.
Too, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, anyone for PEI is going to say red.
Red
That's
is correct.
right. The red.
And that is something else, because some groups that I have seen that work along the East Coast say, well, I am, and this is, here we are, we're skipping ahead to the next one, but I'm not going to say east is air. I'm going to say east is water, because when we get up on winter solstice morning, yes, we stare at we are on the coast and we are looking out over the ocean, but it is that rising sun and that massive dome of sky that east is to me. Yeah. So here we've skipped ahead, but just as an example that there are differences everywhere. You have to make a system that works for you. And I think the best way to do that is you don't have to invest your entire life in it, but you have to, if you find something that seems to resonate, invest enough in it that you can give it a fair shot. Mm-hmm. Don't just try it once or twice and say there's nothing to it and then skip to something else. You have to get a little deep, but once you have, and you play that out for a while and you think, no, I need to make some changes, that's fair. Mm-hmm. But go deep enough that you can feel like you're getting value for what your investment.
Right.
I was just thinking too of like different workshops at the gathering that we've done, and the goddess clay making workshop too.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
There's earth right there.
Yeah.
Very, very strongly. Something that you have made with your hands that has come from the earth and then again put in the fire. And
interestingly enough, the way it all connects, you had the idea in the first place, which is air.
Yes.
And you've taken the action,
Yeah.
which is a fire thing also.
Yeah.
And the water, you've put you put your heart and your emotion into making this goddess. So that's it all. It's so interesting.
Well, as this conversation progresses, obviously none of these elements work on their own. They all, all need each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now that we're sitting here, I have just had a great witching hour idea. So we'll let you know the date later to tune into the witching hour. I'm going to do a show, because I've done it before, I think. I will do the elements and their correspondences and dealing with elemental deficiencies.
Yeah.
So in a future podcast, we will let you know the date of that to tune in at CKDU.
There you go.
There.
Well, look, thank you very much for tuning in, and we're all very happy to be here, and we're very grateful that you're listening. And truly, if you have an idea, there's something you're curious about, something you'd like us to talk about, or you'd like to hear different experiences we've had, certainly you can contact us on our Facebook page. We need, as Brian said earlier, we need all kinds of ideas.
3 Witches and a Druid podcast would like to take a moment to say thank you to our generous and amazing Patreons. Today, we thank Rose, East Coast Witch, Karen, Mac, Highland Horde, Dave the Wave, Danny, Tanya, Maria, Sarah Pecora, Kay Licious, Linda Hume Leahy, and Jennifer Hartman. Without your generous contributions, we could not bring you such magical content. and we thank you for listening.
And until next time, everyone, merry meet
Merry part.
and merry meet again.
Blessed
Blessed be.
This has been 3 Witches and a Druid podcast. Thanks for listening.